Test. Is this a good idea? Who knows? Excuse me. Okay. You know what? I'll be a good streamer. I'll check and see if you can hear me. It looks like you can hear me, but I'm not positive. I'll check. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Good enough for me. All right. So, looky what we have here. Real quick mini stream. Patchnotes in the middle of the night. But this is still updating. So before that, let's quickly go here. And we're reacting to this. Alright, so this is something that came out a while ago that I never got a chance to read, so I wanted to read it real quick. This came out right after the championships, as you can see. Very nice art here. It looks like this is the producer, or at least one of them. First championship in 3 years. First one to feature Sword and Shield. First TCG set in the Sword and Shield era. Final year of Pokemon Tournament DX. No. He also marked introduction for Pokemon Go and Pokemon Unite. Celebrating its first anniversary. Unite's presence at Worlds is a particularly big deal, both because it legitimizes the competitive scene and because it's an opportunity for the community to connect directly with the developers, something that hasn't always been easy for Pokemon Unite players. Dang, even the producer is acknowledging that they've had a hard time balancing the game. Rough. Following Unite closely, there's been a noticeable lack of communication between the devs and the community. Yeah, no kidding. We didn't even get patch notes at first. Unite has had a handful of issues like any new game, but the biggest problem has always been the player feedback has gone unacknowledged. Actually, a group of players want to see the game grow and improve without any kind of consistent. For Timmy, it's been hard to gauge whether or not the developers are listening. You get a rudimentary patch notes that sometimes conflict when you read them in different languages and almost have to be supplemented by in-game testing. Is this made by the? Is this made by the website? This might be made by the website. There hasn't been any indication that the feedback has been received. I didn't open chat. Sorry, chat. All 0 of you. Yeah. With them, roundtable interview found a lot of assurance that the devs are listening to the surveys and comments are reaching the developers. Well, yeah, obviously. Because the features, none of it came as a surprise. One was able to provide a lot of specifics about the kind of changes they're planning, and the fact that United is acknowledging the feedback is a big deal for the community. Here's a few topics we discussed in the interview. So they got an interview. Matchmaking to rank has been a point of contention since the first season. Matching with players far below your skill level is a constant source of frustration. Seems to compound as you climb higher on the ladder. Unite's rank mode favors progression and short queues, so even players with sub 50% win rate can eventually climb to the highest rank. Some changes to matchmaking were made at the end of last year, and the rewards for climbing the ladder have improved in recent seasons. Solo and duo queue players are still experiencing frequent, if not consistent, low quality matches. I asked Ashino if the team was working on matchmaking improvements or if he felt like the system was working as intended. As there's room for improvement. So they don't feel great about it, but they also are not particularly worried about it. That's political correctness for yeah, there's problems. This is not great. This is community feedback. That's a lot of feedback. It's something we continue to try to get more feedback and improve upon. There are some things we consider that we're not ready to share yet. Classic. Said the same thing about Smash Online. Never did anything about that. Something we definitely recognize as a problem. Trying to fix. Public test server. One of the most direct ways they can collect data and feedback. Good to know. Newly released public test server. Purpose of the PTS. New Pokemon are released in a balanced way. Oh, he's funny. Hey, he's got jokes. Look at that. Ah, he's funny. I remember when they put Tyranitar on the PTS. I also remember how Tyranitar released. Oh boy. Well, it has been successful. Okay, sure. Team is still working on ways to get the most out of it. I can tell. They're definitely still changing it. Relatively new, trying to figure out how to utilize it. The first time we used it was for Buswole, which did not work. Super underpowered. Maybe not super underpowered, but underpowered. Something they try to keep in mind is that when you introduce new Pokemon, we don't mess up the entire balance of the game. True. I feel like the PTS succeeded with Buswole, so we'll continue to use the PTS server. What about the one immediately after that, huh? What about the one after that? Remember that one? I do. I remember that one. I remember the footprints it left on my goals. Ka-choo, ka-choo, ka-choo. Guess I'll die. Guess I'm going nowhere near that goal. Can't even be in the speed zone because I'll still die because he could just walk right through it. Remember that. Pick and ban system for ranked and tournament play? I wouldn't mind. Other MOBAs like League of Legends use pick and ban during character selection to add some additional strategy to team composition, prevent overpowered characters from dominating the format. Something we definitely hear. It's something that is part of the consideration, something we've been talking about as well. Surrender is a controversial feature in Pokemon Unite. Get rid of it, please. Those similar games also allow players to surrender when the match isn't going well. Some fighters find it unnecessary for Unite, which has much shorter matches. It's particularly frustrating when a team decides to surrender before the Zapdos fight because until the bird goes down, it's still anyone's game. We recognize that there's some negative feedback in the community towards that as well, so we're considering things. Yo, they're considering getting rid of surrender? Or maybe they're considering making it unanimous, so I can make sure that no one ever surrenders my games. Unfortunately, enemy teams will not give me the same luxury, because a lot of the enemy teams I fight are unanimous surrenders after you lose Rayquaza or something. Unite license inflation, Thea Sky Runes, and more evolutions. Ooh, this is a dangerous one to ask them, because it's a very direct response to the fact that, for all intents and purposes, whales, longtime veterans, and content creators have too many coins. It is a very direct response to that. So it's kind of hard to explain that. More EVs! More EVs! By the recent increases in Unite license prices, so we shouldn't expect the cost to continually increase. Well, I don't think it would cost 30k eventually. I don't think that, but I would not be surprised if the average bumped up to about 14k for the 10k Pokemon, and the 6k Pokemon went up to about 8 or 10. Slightly higher priced. It's not always going to increase from there. This is a very specifically Tyranitar situation. Dodrio releases 14k. Sure, okay. Whatever you say. Speedsters are usually 10k, so I think 14k is just the new 10k. That's all it is. Personally. They could go higher. I doubt it. I don't think they'll release anything for 16k. I legit don't think they're going to go that high. But I could be wrong. Again, another year from now they might. Gina talked a lot about the new map, the Sky Ruins, and confirmed that it will be replacing Remote Stadium, Pull Cook Play, and Rank. You can read all about Sky Ruin details here. Didn't expect the Durant's answers, but about the rest of you. You're waiting for the own favorite, a person on all the EV teams. Think about, yeah. Oh, so they're not really considering all the EVs. They just wanted to add some good ones. They just wanted to add the ones that they thought would work. Interesting, because I very much see Umbreon working. As basically just melee Espeon. Or physical attack Espeon. Oh well. Surprisingly, the big focus is going to be competitive play. We've seen competitive play. We're going to continue to improve. Okay, so this is a bit out of date. They didn't say much. We got the gists. There's some patch notes here. I want to see how these compare. What was the other things I wanted to look into? Oh, right, and they released a Scizor Spotlight. So let's look at this real quick. Here's Scyther. Double Edge. I kind of like Scizor's better, honestly. Rough. Scizor. Alright. So basically the same stuff that we've seen before. Nothing special there. Only Scizor, though. They didn't mention Scyther, but he was in it. Kind of weird. Oh, wrong one. Never mind. Uh... That's the main thing I want to talk about. So we've got some patch notes here. I want to look at the official patch notes first. There's also some Twitter posts, but it's mostly just dual wing beat on Scyther, bullet punch on Scizor, green illusion dive or red illusion dive. So illusion dive. but they are slightly different. And the Scizor trailer worked off of that. But I'm not super worried about that. I am more worried about this! Patch notes. So, it looks like... Also, High Thunder. This stream won't last more than about 5 more minutes. The Pokemon Unite boost emblems. So there's a tutorial now for boost emblem. So I probably will play that at some point, but I don't know if I'll do it tonight. Maybe I'll do it tonight. Just crank it out, get it out of the way. Once only for trainers level 6 or higher who do not have any boost items. So it won't affect anybody that's playing the game now. It'll just be for anybody who hasn't played the game yet. Because I need sleep. Why are you not asleep? That's my question. Trainers do not have had accounts before July 21st. These boost emblems have already been distributed. Note if your account was made on or before this date, completing the tutorial will not affect your boost emblems. Alright, so we get free boost emblems today. Other players have to do a tutorial to get them. Shop updates, bug fixes, text fixes. Game is updating, you cannot connect to the server. I imagine that was over an hour ago. Changes have been made to some Pokemon stats. Air Slash plus HP restoration decreased. Hey, they finally made Cramorant not stupid healing. Psychic, damage decreased. Thank business. Power Swap, damage decreased. Thank goodness. Movement speed decrease has been weakened. Thank goodness. Power Swap Plus, fixed bugs causing effects to not trigger. I don't know what that means. Didn't do anything to the walls or confusion, so that's probably gonna be the meta again for Mime, but that's at least more annoying and less game breaking. So hopefully that's not as bad. Annoying, but not as bad, hopefully. Icy Wind cooldown lengthened, that's a good nerf. Icy Wind kind of needs to do a lot of damage. They're still attackers. They still kind of need to do a lot of damage. But one thing I've noticed that it's getting harder and harder to determine what's too much damage and what's too little damage. Because classes really can be whatever they want. And supports do as much damage as speedsters. All-rounders do as much damage as attackers, and speedsters do no damage, but they're supposed to do the most. It's getting very difficult to tell